Well,
Well,
hello and welcome to another episode of Behind the Scenes with Not in the Guidebooks. And today we've got a very special guest with us. As most of you know, we do have our upcoming fam trip coming for Costa Rica from the 16th to the 26th of June. And today I'm very, very lucky to have our local host, Roberto, join us to tell us a little bit more about Costa Rica. But before we dive into the wonders of Costa Rica, let's get to know a little bit more about our fabulous host, Roberto. So, Roberto, would you mind sharing a bit about yourself and what makes you so passionate about showcasing Costa Rica and all of their amazing hidden gems?
sure, of course. Thank you. Well, I've been in the tourism industry for over 18 years now, but I think that my passion for tourism in Costa Rica started when I was 20 something, just in university. That I started traveling with friends all over the country, and we actually did that for quite a few years, like constantly going out every weekend. Actually, we had a record of going out 21 weekends in a row, to
Wow.
different places in Costa Rica. So, when I would say when I was 25, I already had a pretty good knowledge of the country because we were everywhere. And I guess that ignited that passion, to travel around and to kind of like discover everything that we had. Costa Rica has a long history of being a big tourism um, magnet for foreigners, and ever since I was a young kid, I remember watching TV ads saying "Smile to the tourist." So already in the 80s, it was something that was already being cultivated in our country. So that's kind of like my history on how I became that passionate about Costa Rica and the places that we have to show, and that I still enjoy. One of the things that I like the most about my job right now is when the low season kicks in, and then I'm able to start going to different places, kind of like discovering new products, discovering new hotels, or just going back to the hotels that I use all the time just to see how things are going, etc. Right? So, yeah,
That
that's
sounds amazing. That sounds absolutely amazing. Myself, growing up in the Caribbean, I totally get like having the opportunity and ability to just go out and explore. And it's great that you still get to do that. And not only just do it from a personal level, but then you also have the opportunity now to open that up to still people around the world and give them these amazing experiences that they would never have the opportunity to see. And that kind of leads me into my next question, like how would you say that our experiences with Not in the Guidebooks help travelers to really immerse themselves in that kind of Costa Rican culture and tradition?
hmm yeah. I guess one of the advantages that I have is that I do know these little corners and these little um, tour operators here and there, families that came up with a new enterprise, that kind of things. So I know a lot of them, and I try to embed them into the itineraries, and it's harder than you might think, because in the end, the tourist wants to see what they read about on the internet, and what they read about on the internet is always the highlights, right? And that's what I love about the itineraries that we put together, that we have been able to include things here and there, and it really the options are very we have many options, I should say. It all depends on the customer, and how open they are to explore a little bit more
Just
than
experience it. And you find that when these customers, the ones that choose to go on these, off the beaten track experiences, when they get the opportunity to do that, what are some of the comments and things that they say, like after they've, maybe gone and spent 4 or 5 hours with a local family?
yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, the one that pops up in my mind right away is one customer of yours, not in the guidebooks, that she said to me right after the tour. It was a cooking lesson, and in a place, it's kind of like a hill overlooking the Pacific Ocean, um, and they do the cooking class, but they also share, their culture and their organical garden and that kind of stuff. And then right after that tour, she said, I felt so blessed to be able to share that with that specific family, to kind of like to feel that we were becoming friends with, these humble people.
I mean, from your perspective, I know, well, you've been traveling around Costa Rica for decades now, and it'd be great if do you have any particular like hidden gem or attraction that is special to you, Roberto, that most people might not necessarily know? I don't know if you want to tell them though, because then it's not going to be a secret anymore.
Yeah, I can mention a couple of them, and one that I really try to to send people to in certain period of the year. There's one place called Barra Pacuare. Pacuare is the name of a river, and it's a very good river for rafting. So when I say Pacuare, people think about rafting, but the word Barra Pacuare is where the river meets the ocean, right? And that happens in the North Caribbean. It's really south from Tortuguero. Tortugueros are one of the highlights, and many people go there to see turtles. The turtle season in Tortuguero goes from July to October, type of thing. But in Barra Pacuare, it's like going to Tortuguero when there was nothing there. Like 30 years ago or more. There's only a couple of places to stay. So, again, right, going back to the out of the beaten path things, it's a little bit more uncomfortable than going to one of the nicest hotels in Tortuguero. But from April till June, we have the leatherbacks coming. The leatherback is the biggest sea turtle in the world, and it's endangered. It's really rare to see. So going there in that time frame obviously does not guarantee the sighting, but there's a pretty good chance that you get to see that wonder of life and wonder of nature. So yeah, that's one of my secret gems, and that's one of the, like, even when I talk to colleagues from other agencies, they don't even know about it, so
really. Oh wow. I've made a note already, because I'm like want to see a leatherback person like up close.
Then the other thing, the other one I should mention is the South Pacific. The South Pacific is still not touristy, right? But it has the Corcovado National Park, and that park is very special. It's huge, and it became more and more popular ever since National Geographic said that it was the most biodiverse place in the world. There's many areas because the park is really huge. So people usually go to Drake Bay, which is kind of like facing the Pacific Ocean. But inside, it's a peninsula, right? It's called the Osa Peninsula, and inside there's a gulf, and that area inside the gulf is really, I would say, yeah, it is very special. It still has the biodiversity, but in a more wild way. It's there's the infrastructure that we have in tourism is not massive at all, and because it's remote, it's kind of, if you drive from here, from San Jose to there, it's going to take you like 7 hours or so. So it's it is remote for us, right? Because we're a very small country, so a transfer of 7 hours is important for us. So that part of the country is also one of my areas that I actually want to start promoting more.
Yeah. That's great to know. You mentioned, and this is probably a bit my geography, but you mentioned the Caribbean side. So what's the difference between the Caribbean side? So you got Caribbean side and
Yeah,
the
we have beaches on the Caribbean. We have coastline on the Pacific side as well, right?
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it is very different.
Any major, well, other than the beaches, I guess on the Caribbean, any major differences between the two sides? Because I do know we have a tour that goes from like east to west, and
Right.
any major differences between the both sides of the Costa Rica?
Yeah, yeah. To put it in a nutshell,
Mhm.
I would divide Caribbean coastline into North Caribbean, where Tortuguero is, where Barra Pacuare is. That's more for wildlife. Then the South Caribbean is more for beach and culture and gastronomy. Um, in the Caribbean, the touristic infrastructure is very, um, let's say, it's smaller scale, more smaller local hotels, boutique hotels
Mm.
type of thing. You won't see big buildings, you won't see big resorts, anything like that. So in the Pacific side, I would divide it into three. North Pacific um, is a province called Guanacaste, and that's lots of beaches, lots of very beautiful beaches, amazing sunsets. That's also where you will find more resorts, bigger places, hotel chains type of thing. Although, of course, you can also find like smaller boutique hotels and kind of like um, yeah, nothing that big or
Chains, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Then the Central Pacific is um, it's a kind of like in between, right? In between the south. And then maybe I will mention what's in the south. The south is the Osa Peninsula that I was mentioning before. So it's definitely more for wildlife lovers
Mm.
and out of the beaten path lovers, right? Very humid versus the North Pacific is drier, tropical dry forest in the north, rainforest in the south. And then the Central Pacific is, as I said, in between, is actually a transition forest uh, between the dry of the north and the humid in the south. And then the hotels are also kind of like in between. You can find bigger hotels, probably not big hotels chains. There's a couple of them, but yeah, bigger resorts, I guess. And of course, you can also find your smaller places, smaller local places, and smaller, very fancy boutique hotels. So yeah, that's kind of like in a nutshell the different areas in the coastlines.
In the coastline. Is there a particular like rainy season or a time where you have more rain than any
Yeah,
other?
sure.
Or
Sure. It is a tropical country, right? And people come here for the rainforest. Sometimes people forget about it, right? And they want to come and see no rain, which is rare, right? I mean,
I
uh,
know, but
there's
it's a very popular question. I bet the agents will say the first question that customer asks is when is the rainy season?
yeah, but there's rain in the rainforest, right? So but yeah, we have a dry season or a drier season from December to April. Right now, we're starting April. I would expect that by the end of this month, rain starts coming again. Um, that's the general statement. One thing that many people don't know, and that in my opinion should be promoted more, or at least spoken more about, is that in the Caribbean side, there the driest season is September and October.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the other way around from the Pacific. So when you say the dry season in Costa Rica is from December to April, that's true for the Central Valley and the Pacific side.
Mm.
Um, that is not necessarily true for the Caribbean. Like if you go to the Caribbean side in January, you will see rain.
Yeah.
But if you go to the in January to the North Pacific, you won't see rain. right? So if you go in October to the Caribbean side, you will have very sunny, beautiful days. But in the Pacific side, there will be rain for sure. Like even so, like in the South Pacific, remember that I said in the South it's very rainy. If you go in October, there you will find so many hotels that are just closed.
Really?
It rains so much,
Rain so
and yeah, and the season is so low that they just decide to close for October. So they do the the maintenance, remodeling, and all that kind of stuff, vacation for employees, etc. Right? But yeah, so you have that in the South Pacific while you have the better and sunny days on the Caribbean side.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I've learned so much today.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much, Roberto, for taking the time to come and chat to the agents and just give them a bit of knowledge. Actually, I've got one last question, and it's all around wildlife. And I think for me, I was like, what is the number one wildlife that people come to Costa Rica to see, or one that people don't necessarily know about as well, because we're all about the not in the guidebooks. Is there any particular wildlife or animal or bird that most people don't know about that they should know about that's in Costa Rica?
Yeah, yeah. So most people ask about monkeys and sloths.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. So I would say one is popular. The sea turtles. For me, sea turtles are just amazing, right? And we have many options to see sea turtles. We have seasons for that, and then we have also seasons for whale watching, which is also pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The one animal that nobody relates to Costa Rica, and if you go to the South Pacific, you get to see, is the tapir. Is our biggest mammal. So yeah, that's.
There you go. Thank you so much, Roberto. It was so lovely chatting to you. And I'm sure the agents will enjoy meeting you in June when they're all there. So thank you so much, Roberto.
Thank you for having me. It was really great talking to you this morning.
Thank you.